Before we begin, if you're listening to this alone at night, you're exactly where you should be. Subscribe and turn on notifications for more true horror stories, disturbing encounters, and unexplained events uploaded every day. Now lock your doors, turn off the lights, and let's get into tonight's stories. Most people think mechanics spend their days fixing engines. That's only part of the job. We also spend hours inside vehicles that don't belong to us. Customer cars, police impounds, insurance recoveries, abandoned vehicles. You learn a lot about people from what's left inside their cars. Family photos, fast food wrappers, old receipts, children's toys. But every mechanic eventually gets a vehicle that feels like it doesn't belong in the shop at all. Mine arrived on a flatbed just before closing. According to the work order, the customer would be waiting. The problem was, no customer ever showed up. My name is Ethan. I worked as a technician at an independent repair shop outside St. Louis. We handled everything: oil changes, brake jobs, engine replacements, electrical diagnostics. If a vehicle could be repaired, we'd probably see it eventually. Most customers dropped their cars off in the morning. The tow trucks usually arrived after hours. One rainy evening, just as we were preparing to lock up, a rollback driver unloaded an older gray sedan in Bay 3. He handed me the paperwork. Customer says it won't start. Simple enough. Until I looked at the form. Every line was completed, except the customer's name. No phone number? I asked. The driver shrugged. Dispatch said someone would meet you. He climbed back into the truck and left. I waited another 20 minutes. No one came. Company policy required us to move after-hours drop-offs inside the building. I grabbed the key from the cup holder. It fit the ignition. The dashboard lit up immediately. Fuel gauge, battery, everything looked normal. But when I turned the key, nothing happened. Not even a click. I rolled the sedan into Bay 3 and started my inspection. The battery tested perfectly. Starter relay, good. Fuses, good. Ignition switch, good. Everything checked out. Yet the engine acted like it wasn't connected to the car. My co-worker, Brian, leaned over the fender. Maybe the engine's locked up. We put a breaker bar on the crankshaft. The engine rotated smoothly. Nothing was seized. Around 7 that evening, Brian left. I stayed behind to finish paperwork. The shop became unusually quiet. No air tools, no radios, only the humming of fluorescent lights overhead. Then, I heard the sedan's turn signal clicking. Slow, steady, click, click, click. I looked up. The key wasn't in the ignition anymore. I knew because I'd left it on my toolbox. Yet the left turn signal blinked anyway. I walked over and switched the stalk off. The clicking stopped. As I turned away, it started again. Only now, the right signal flashed instead. Thinking it had an electrical short, I disconnected the battery. Every light went dark. The clicking continued. That got my attention. I opened the driver's door. No lights. No instrument panel. Nothing powered. Still, the turn signal clicked from somewhere beneath the dashboard. I reached underneath. The sound stopped. Instantly. My shop phone rang. The caller ID displayed only one word. Customer. I answered. Silence. Then, a calm voice asked, "Is it ready?" I looked at the sedan. "I haven't repaired it yet." Another pause. "It doesn't need repaired. It just needs to leave." The line disconnected. I tried calling the number back. The display changed to unknown number. No record of the previous call existed. The next morning, the service manager couldn't find the repair order in the computer. Only the handwritten copy remained. The one I'd received from the tow truck driver. He looked confused. "We never scheduled this car. We contacted every towing company in town. None admitted delivering it. The security cameras showed a rollback entering the lot, the sedan being unloaded, the truck driving away. The license plate couldn't be read. The company logo on the door appeared completely blank. My manager decided to run the VIN. No records. The state database rejected it. Insurance databases rejected it. Even the manufacturer lookup failed. According to every system, the car didn't exist. That afternoon, I finally decided to check the trunk. Most abandoned cars held old tools or spare tires. This one contained only a manila folder. Inside was a stack of repair invoices. Every invoice carried the same complaint. Engine will not start. Different repair shops. Different states. Different technicians. The strange part wasn't the paperwork. It was the signatures. Every mechanic had written the exact same note. Vehicle picked up after hours. No customer names. No payment records. No addresses. Just identical handwriting across dozens of invoices spanning places all over the country. That evening, just before closing, the shop lights flickered. I looked toward Bay 3. The sedan's engine had started. By itself. No key. No battery. No one inside. It idled smoothly for about 10 seconds. Then shut off. When I walked over, the driver's seat was wet, as though someone had been sitting there in soaked clothes. Rainwater dripped onto the floor mat, yet every window remained closed. The following morning, Bay 3 was empty. The shop doors were still locked from the inside. No broken locks. No tire tracks. No alarms. The sedan had vanished. A week later, another mechanic from a neighboring town stopped by to borrow a specialty tool. While we were talking, he casually mentioned a strange car that had shown up after hours. An older gray sedan. Wouldn't crank. No customer information. No repair history. I asked one question. What bay? He frowned. 3. I never told him what happened at our shop. There wasn't any point. Some vehicles don't come in to be repaired. They come in to make sure someone else writes their name on another work order. Now, whenever a tow truck arrives after closing with paperwork that doesn't list a customer, I don't unload it, because somewhere out there, there's still a gray sedan looking for the next mechanic willing to sign the bottom of the page. Every mechanic has a favorite bay. Good lighting. A lift that actually works. Easy access to tools. You get comfortable working in the same spot every day. Then there are the bays everyone quietly avoids. No one admits they're superstitious. They'll blame a bad hydraulic lift, poor ventilation, old wiring. But if you ask enough mechanics, they'll all point to the same bay, and they'll all tell you the same thing. Never leave a car on the lift overnight. I didn't listen. My name is Mason. I worked at a family-owned repair shop just outside Denver. The building wasn't fancy. 6 service bays, 2 alignment racks, a small waiting room. The place had been around longer than most of the technicians working there. I handled diagnostics and suspension work. Most evenings, I stayed later than everyone else trying to finish jobs before the morning rush. One Friday, a black SUV arrived just before closing. The customer complained about a loud clunk coming from the front suspension. Simple enough. I figured I'd knock it out before heading home. I drove the SUV into Bay 4, raised it on the hydraulic lift, removed the front wheels. Within minutes, I found a worn lower ball joint. Easy repair. The replacement part would arrive first thing in the morning. Instead of lowering the vehicle, I left it suspended on the lift overnight. The shop owner stopped on his way out. You leaving it up? Just until tomorrow. He looked at Bay 4 for a second, then quietly said, I'd put it back on the ground. I laughed. Hydraulic leak? He shook his head. No. Then he left. Around 8 that evening, I was the only person still in the building. I finished paperwork in the office while waiting for a supplier to confirm the morning delivery. The service area was silent. No impact guns. No air compressors. Just the occasional ping of cooling exhaust pipes. Then, I heard the hydraulic lift. A slow, metallic creak. Exactly like a vehicle settling under its own weight. I walked into Bay 4. The SUV remained fully raised. The lift arms hadn't moved. Everything looked normal. As I turned away, the lift control lever slowly lowered by itself. Just a fraction of an inch. The SUV dropped less than an inch. Then stopped. I immediately checked the hydraulic system. No leaks. No damaged hoses. No pressure loss. Nothing. Thinking the control valve had slipped, I reset the lift and locked it again. Problem solved. Or so I thought. 10 minutes later, the same sound. Creak. I returned to Bay 4. The SUV had lowered another inch. This time, the safety locks were still engaged. That shouldn't have been possible. A hydraulic lift can't lower while the mechanical locks remain locked. I lowered the vehicle completely, then raised it again. Everything tested perfectly. No mechanical problems. No explanation. My phone buzzed. It was the parts supplier confirming the ball joint. While I was talking, every shop light flickered. Only Bay 4 went completely dark. The other 5 bays remained brightly lit. I grabbed a flashlight and walked over. The SUV was gone. For 1 second, the lift stood empty. Then the lights came back. The SUV was exactly where it had been. I ended the phone call without saying goodbye. Deciding I'd had enough for the night, I packed my toolbox. As I walked toward the office, I heard footsteps beneath the SUV, heavy work boots, walking slowly across the concrete floor. I knelt down. Nobody. Only the underside of the vehicle. Suspension hanging freely. No place for anyone to hide. The footsteps continued. Directly above me, inside the SUV, the driver's door slowly opened. No one climbed out. The dome light illuminated the empty interior. Then, the horn gave one short blast. I nearly hit my head climbing out from underneath. The key still hung on my toolbox across the shop. No one could have activated the horn. I locked the building and left. The SUV remained inside, safely on the ground. Saturday morning, I arrived before everyone else. The shop alarm had never activated overnight. Every door remained locked. Everything appeared normal. Except Bay 4. The SUV sat on the lift again, fully raised. All 4 wheels removed. The exact position I'd left it in the night before. I stared at it. I knew I'd lowered it. I'd even locked the doors before leaving. The owner walked in behind me. He looked toward Bay 4, then quietly sighed. "You left it up." I didn't. He didn't argue. He simply handed me the replacement ball joint. Finished the job. I installed the new suspension parts. Lowered the SUV. Road tested it. The clunk was gone. The customer picked it up that afternoon. Nothing unusual happened. For about a week. Then another black SUV arrived. Different customer. Different vehicle. Same complaint. Front suspension noise. The service advisor assigned it to Bay 4 without thinking. I immediately requested another bay. He laughed. "What's wrong with 4?" I didn't answer. The younger technician who took the job wasn't worried. He left the SUV on the lift overnight. The following morning, he quit. Didn't give notice. Didn't finish cleaning out his toolbox. Just left. The only thing he said before walking out was, "Something climbs underneath those cars after dark." Nobody believed him. Until the security cameras were reviewed. The footage showed the SUV sitting perfectly still all night. Nothing moved. No one entered the shop. Then, at exactly 3:17 a.m., the hydraulic lift slowly raised itself another 6 inches. No one touched the controls. No motors activated. No hydraulic pump ran. The vehicle simply rose. The owner finally closed Bay 4. Officially, he blamed electrical problems. The lift was removed and replaced. Fresh concrete was poured. New equipment installed. Everything modern. Everything safe. The strange part? The problems never stopped. Not with the lift. With the bay. Mechanics still refuse to leave vehicles there overnight. Not because they believe in ghosts. Because every once in a while, just after everyone else goes home, you can hear someone underneath the raised car, working with tools that aren't there. And if you kneel down to look, you'll hear the ratchet stop, as though whoever's under the vehicle just realized they're no longer working alone. Mechanics spend most of their careers fixing problems they can't see. A strange vibration, an intermittent electrical fault, a noise that only happens under certain conditions. Customers usually describe the symptoms. It's our job to find the cause. But every mechanic eventually gets one vehicle, where every test comes back normal, even though something is obviously wrong. Mine arrived just before closing on a rainy Thursday. The repair order listed only 4 words. "It won't stay parked." I thought the customer meant the parking brake. I couldn't have been more wrong. My name is Caleb. I worked at a full-service repair shop outside Indianapolis. We specialized in electrical diagnostics. If another shop couldn't figure out a problem, they usually sent the vehicle to us. Intermittent issues were frustrating, but they paid well. One evening, a dark blue station wagon rolled into our lot on the back of a flatbed. The tow driver handed me the keys and the repair order. "No customer?" I asked. He shook his head. They said they'd come by tomorrow. I signed the paperwork and backed the wagon into Bay 5. The complaint sounded simple. The owner claimed the vehicle rolled backward every morning, even with the parking brake fully applied. I tested it myself. Transmission locked. Parking brake worked perfectly. Wheel chocks held exactly as they should. Everything checked out. I left the wagon in Bay 5 and went home. The next morning, the service advisor met me before I even unlocked my toolbox. "Did you move that wagon?" "No. It's outside." I looked through the shop windows. The station wagon sat in the customer parking area, perfectly centered between two spaces. The keys still hung on the hook inside the office. Nobody admitted moving it. The security cameras showed something even stranger. At exactly 3:08 a.m., the wagon slowly rolled backward out of Bay 5. The shop doors never opened. The vehicle simply appeared outside in the next camera view. No missing footage. No edits. No explanation. Thinking the cameras had glitched, I repeated every test. Parking brake, transmission, wheel bearings. Everything passed. The customer still hadn't called. That night I decided to stay late. If something was moving the wagon, I'd see it myself. By midnight the rest of the crew had gone home. Rain tapped softly against the roof. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. The wagon sat exactly where I'd left it. Silent. Still. Around 1 a.m, the dashboard illuminated. No key. No battery charger. The instrument cluster simply came to life. Every warning light blinked once, then went dark again. A few minutes later, the driver's seat slid backward, on its own, slowly. Click, 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 until it reached the last position. I walked over with a flashlight. The cabin was empty. No movement. No sound. As I leaned inside, the radio switched on. Static filled the speakers. Then a man's voice. Very calm. Almost fixed. The display immediately went black. I disconnected the battery. Completely. Removed both terminals. Laid them on top of the engine cover. There was no possible source of electrical power. The headlights flashed. Once. I took a step back. The horn sounded. One short blast. Then silence. I called my manager. He answered immediately. Before I could explain anything, he interrupted me. "Is it the blue wagon?" I froze. "How did you know?" Long silence. Then he quietly said, "I was hoping it wouldn't come back." The next morning he told me the story. Years earlier, before I worked there, the same station wagon had arrived with the exact same complaint. No one could find anything wrong. It stayed at the shop for almost a week. Every morning, employees found it parked somewhere different. Different bay, different parking space. Once, across the street in another business's lot. The owner eventually picked it up. No one ever saw it again. Until now. Curious, I searched the glove compartment. Inside was a stack of old repair receipts. Different states, different repair shops, different mechanics. Every invoice listed a different complaint. Electrical issues, brake problems, transmission faults, steering noise. But every final note was identical. No problem found. That afternoon, a man finally walked into the shop. Middle-aged. Quiet. He didn't ask how much the repair would cost. He didn't ask what we'd found. He simply looked through the service bay windows and asked, "Is it still here?" I nodded. "It hasn't left yet." He closed his eyes for a moment, then quietly said, "Good." He explained that he'd bought the wagon from an estate auction. Every mechanic who inspected it told him nothing was wrong. Yet every few nights, he'd wake up to find it parked somewhere else. Sometimes at the end of his driveway, sometimes across the street. Once, behind his house where there wasn't even a road. He was convinced someone was stealing it, until he installed a GPS tracker. The tracker never recorded the vehicle moving. Yet every morning, it was somewhere different. He signed the paperwork without waiting for a diagnosis. "I don't want it fixed. I just don't want it back." Then he left. That evening we decided to call a salvage company. If the owner didn't want the wagon, we'd send it to auction. The rollback arrived just before sunset. The driver loaded the station wagon without any trouble. I watched him tighten every chain. He waved as he pulled away. The next morning, Bay 5 wasn't empty. The blue station wagon sat exactly where it had been before. Clean, dry, perfectly parked. The tow invoice was gone. The security cameras showed the rollback leaving the property. The wagon never returned. At least, not on camera. My manager looked at me and said only one sentence. "Lock Bay 5. We never used it again." A month later, I transferred to another repair shop across the state. Different building, different customers, different life. Then one rainy evening, a flatbed backed up to my new service entrance. The driver climbed out, smiled, and handed me a repair order. No customer name, no phone number, only 4 handwritten words. It won't stay parked. Before I looked up, the tow truck was already pulling away. The station wagon sat quietly behind it, waiting. I never accepted the work order. I never touched the keys. I walked inside, locked the shop door, and called my manager. By the time we both came back outside, the wagon was gone. No tire marks, no broken gate, no camera footage, just an empty parking space. I've repaired thousands of vehicles since then. Most mechanical problems can be solved with enough time and the right tools. But every now and then, a service advisor walks over holding a repair order with almost no information. Whenever I see a blank customer name, I don't ask what's wrong with the car. I ask one question instead. Did it arrive by itself? Because some vehicles aren't looking for a mechanic. They're looking for someone willing to perform one last repair.